I opened the jewelry box, and the family ring was gone. Tradition doesn't pay for luxury, my stepmom said after selling it for a spa trip. I paid the bills and slept in the guest room, but when she came back from the Maldives, she wished she hadn't touched it. Hey Reddit. This might sound crazy to some of you, but I'm still shaking while typing this. 27F, just found out that my stepmother pawned my late grandmother's engagement ring, the family ring, to help pay for her luxury vacation to the stupid Maldives. And the way I found out? She told me. Casually. Like she was doing me a favor. Let me explain. My mom passed when I was 12. It was cancer. Fast and cruel. My dad remarried 2 years later, and Cassandra came into our lives like a wrecking ball wearing heels. I've never liked her, but I tolerated her for my dad's sake. She always acted like my mom's things were some kind of burden. Do we really need to keep all these dusty books? Or, once during Christmas, she said, these old stockings make the place look like a thrift store. Let's get matching ones from Pottery Barn. I was 16. I remember just standing there, watching her toss out the stocking my mom embroidered by hand. But the one thing I held on to, the thing I begged my dad to protect, was my Grandma Clara's engagement ring. Deep blue sapphire, marquise cut with a diamond halo, set in antique platinum. It had been passed down 3 generations. My mom wore it every day after Grandma passed. After Mom died, my dad kept it locked in the safe. He always said, "It's yours someday." Your mom would have wanted that. So yeah, that ring? It was sacred to me. 2 days ago, I went over to my dad's place. That is, the place I technically still lived in, to drop off some mail that had accidentally shown up at my friend's, where I crash sometimes to get space from Cassandra. Cassandra was packing for another one of her rejuvenation retreats, as she calls them. This time, the Maldives. 5-star resort, beachfront villa, the whole influencer lifestyle thing she pretends she's too classy for. I was in the kitchen, sipping tea while she tossed swimsuits into her overstuffed suitcase. I wasn't planning to stay long. Then, out of nowhere, she said, "Oh, by the way, I cleared out some of the old stuff in the safe. That blue ring? The antique one? I sold it." My heart stopped. What ring? She barely looked up. Your grandmother's. That dark blue one? It's been sitting there for years. Honestly, I figured it could finally pay for something useful. I just stood there. I couldn't even form a sentence. You sold it? She actually laughed. Relax. It's not like anyone was wearing it. Traditions are cute and all, but they don't pay for luxury facials. Then she zipped up her bag and walked out of the room, heels clicking on the hardwood. I left in a daze. But when I got home, I had to be sure. Maybe she was bluffing. Maybe it was a power move. I went to the box. The cherrywood jewelry box with the brass latch, tucked under documents in my dad's safe. I had checked it dozens of times over the years, just to make sure it was still there. I opened it. Empty. Not misplaced. Not at the jeweler's. Not being cleaned. Gone. I stared into the velvet nest like I was looking into a grave. That ring was worth a lot of money. My aunt had it appraised at over $18,000. But it wasn't about that. It was the last piece of my mom I had. The only thing I really wanted. And Cassandra had turned it into beachside cocktails and an Instagram story. To make it worse, she sent me a message the next morning. Her, poolside in a white robe, holding a giant martini. Caption: Tradition doesn't pay for luxury. Cheers from paradise. I didn't reply. I didn't call. I haven't told my sister yet. But something in me snapped. You don't get to erase someone's memory because you think it's outdated. You don't get to sell a piece of my mother to fund your idea of self-care. And you absolutely don't get to smirk while you do it. She thinks this is over. It's not. Some of you asked for more context. So here it is. All of it. My stepmother Cassandra didn't just take a ring. She took my home, my peace, and turned me into her personal utility plan. And the worst part? I let it happen for way too long. After my mom passed, Cassandra moved in and started calling the shots like she built this house from scratch. My mom's books? Dusty and outdated. Family photos? Too depressing. My grandma's tea set? I don't drink tea. Donate it. She'd do these passive-aggressive purges while I was at school or work. I'd come home to empty shelves and she'd smile and say, "Don't worry, I left the things that matter." She meant her things. I moved out at 19 for college, but after graduation I came back for a bit to help my dad while he was recovering from a surgery. I didn't plan to stay long, but Cassandra had other ideas. "Oh good, you're back," she said when I arrived with 2 suitcases. "We could really use the help. The fridge is practically empty and the electric bill's late again." That help turned into me covering groceries, utilities, and sometimes gas for their car, since you use it too. I was 23, barely scraping by at my first real job, and Cassandra was living like she had a personal glam squad. Nails done weekly, lashes refilled, hair extensions, monthly facials, juice cleanses, Botox. And anytime I hesitated to pitch in, she'd drop comments like, "I invest in myself. You should try it sometime. You're single, no kids. Where else is your money going? It's called gratitude, honey. Look it up." One time, I said I couldn't afford to split the grocery bill because rent was due. She rolled her eyes and muttered, "It's embarrassing how little you can handle." And Dad? He never said anything. Just blinked like someone told him to stay out of it. They'd host dinner parties for Cassandra's friends, and I was the one cleaning up. And yet when her guests asked who I was, she'd introduce me as Mark's daughter. "She's staying here, temporarily." No name. No thanks. 2 nights after the ring incident, I couldn't sleep. My mind was spinning. I kept thinking about the safe. About how that ring wasn't just a thing, it was mine. And if Cassandra could take that, what else had she taken? I needed air. So I drove across town to see my aunt, my mom's sister, Rachel. I hadn't seen her in months, but the moment she opened the door and saw my face, she pulled me in without a word. I broke down in her kitchen, told her about the ring. How Cassandra laughed about it. How I opened the box and it was empty. I said, "She took the last thing I had. And I can't even say anything because I live in her house." Rachel froze mid-sip. "Her house," she said slowly. "You mean your mom's house?" I looked up. "No, I mean, well, Dad's house now." "Right." She looked stunned. Then whispered, "You didn't know." "Know what?" "Oh, sweetheart." She reached across the table and took my hand. "Your mom left the house to you. She updated the will when you were 14. She wanted you to have security. A place that would always be yours." My ears started ringing. I stared at her like she'd told me I was adopted. "What are you talking about?" "It's in the will." I saw it. "Your dad was named trustee until you turned 21. After that, it was supposed to transfer to your name." She made it crystal clear. I couldn't speak. Rachel stood, went to her office, and came back with a folder. Inside was a copy of the will. There it was. In black and white. "The property located at, address, shall become the sole property of my daughter, my full name, upon her reaching the age of 21. I was 27. They'd been living in my house for 6 years and never said a word. I felt sick. Not angry, violated. Cassandra sold my mother's ring to pay for a vacation, laughed in my face, lived off my money, and called me ungrateful, all while living in a house that wasn't even hers. When I told Rachel, she looked ready to scream. "You need to do something," she said. "They're not just taking advantage. They're erasing her." That's when it clicked. It wasn't just about money. It was about memory, power, identity. Cassandra wasn't going to stop. But now? Now I had the power. Cassandra came back from the Maldives 3 days later, glowing like she'd found eternal youth in a coconut. Tan, smug, and still wearing that white linen aesthetic like she ran a spa. My dad picked her up from the airport, and they walked in with matching wheeled luggage and the scent of overpriced sunscreen. She didn't even greet me. Just glanced at me in the hallway and said, "Did you remember to restock oat milk? I can't do regular dairy anymore." No apology. No mention of the ring. Like nothing ever happened. I didn't respond. I just smiled politely. Because I was already planning what came next. That weekend, Cassandra hosted a family reconnect dinner. Her words. Apparently, she wanted to bring everyone closer after her soul-altering beach cleanse. Her daughter Alyssa, 31, and son Brent, 35, were coming with their spouses and 2 kids. They hadn't lived here in years, but they visited sometimes. They were Cassandra's pride. Both had trendy careers, smart homes, golden retrievers, and Instagram families. They also couldn't hide their contempt for me. "You still live here?" Brent smirked as he took off his coat in the entryway. Alyssa fake laughed. "Well, not live live. She's just staying, right?" I didn't answer. Just walked to the dining room. Dinner was a full spread: salmon, kale salad, hand-rolled sushi. Cassandra didn't cook any of it, obviously. She ordered catering and pretended she made it. "I would have done something more elaborate," she said, sitting down, "but the jet lag from the Maldives just destroys my immune system." Dad nodded like a prop. Alyssa and Brent complimented the table settings. Brent's wife asked, "So, do you all live here together?" Before I could answer, Cassandra jumped in. "Well, we live here. She's just helping out. It's nice of her to contribute, considering how expensive things are these days." Then she looked me dead in the eye and smiled. "I mean, every bit helps when someone's still finding their way." The table chuckled awkwardly. I took a sip of water. My hands didn't shake, because I knew what was in my purse. I waited until everyone had eaten. Plates half full. Cassandra swirling her wine. Brent talking about crypto. Alyssa scrolling her phone. Then I stood up. "I'm glad we're all here," I said. Everyone looked up. Even Dad blinked like he forgot I had vocal cords. "I've been meaning to talk to you all. Especially about this house." Cassandra laughed lightly. "Sweetheart, can we not do this now? People are eating." I ignored her and pulled out a manila envelope. "I brought something. It's my mother's will. A copy, at least. I got it from her lawyer." The room went quiet. I laid it flat on the table, turned it so they could read it. It says, clearly and legally, that this house belongs to me. It became mine when I turned 21, which was 6 years ago. Alyssa frowned. "Wait, what?" Brent narrowed his eyes. "That's not possible." Cassandra's voice cracked, just slightly. That can't be right." But I was already reading aloud. "The property located at, address, shall become the sole property of my daughter, my name, upon her reaching the age of 21. I looked up. "You've all been living here, eating here, sleeping here, insulting me here on my property. You sold my mother's ring to fund a vacation. You've used my money, my home, my silence. That ends today." Cassandra's wine glass wobbled in her hand. "Your father lives here," she said, voice rising. "This is his home." "No," I said firmly. "It was my mother's. She left it to me. You two just never told me. Because you knew I wouldn't let you get away with this." Brent stood. "This is ridiculous. You're seriously going to evict your own father and stepmom?" I looked him straight in the eye. "You think I owe you something because you have matching family pajamas and live in a gated community? Sit down." He did. Cassandra tried again. "We're family. Surely we can come to an agreement." "We can't," I said. "It's called a lease. I'll have it sent over by Monday. You can sign it and pay rent, or you can start packing." Alyssa scoffed. "You're ungrateful. After everything she's done for you." I laughed. I couldn't help it. What has she done for me? Mocked me? Used me? Took the only heirloom I cared about and turned it into room service? Please. You don't know the half of it. My dad looked small. I don't even think he understood half of what was happening. He opened his mouth, closed it, then whispered, "I didn't think you'd care." I stared at him. That's the problem. No one touched dessert. They left in a rush, Alyssa dragging her kid, Brent slamming a door. Cassandra stayed frozen at the table, staring at the will. I walked past her, took the leftover sushi, and said quietly, "By the way, that oat milk? It was $5. I left the receipt on the fridge. Then I turned off the light. And for the first time in 10 years, I felt like I could breathe. They all left in silence. No hugs. No goodbyes. Just car doors slamming and Cassandra sitting there like someone unplugged her from the wall. I didn't sleep that night. Not from stress, adrenaline. I walked through every room like I was seeing it for the first time. The living room, where Cassandra once told me to go to my room if I couldn't smile. The kitchen, where I'd scrubbed burnt casserole pans she forgot to clean. The hallway where I overheard her tell her friend on speaker, "She's still here." I don't know why. She just clings. Now? She could cling all she wanted. But not for free. The next morning, I was in the kitchen making coffee when she walked in. Cassandra. No makeup. Hair frizzy. A silk robe barely tied around her. She opened the fridge, stared for a second, then shut it. "There's no almond milk." I sipped my coffee and said nothing. She turned to face me, arms crossed. "So that's it? You're really doing this?" I didn't look up. "I already did it. Do you know how insane this is? Making your own father pay rent?" "He can move out," I said, still calm. "Like I said, 2 options." Her voice jumped a pitch. "He's your father. He raised you. He gave you everything." That made me laugh. I actually laughed. "No. My mother gave me everything. And you took it. You threw away her wedding china. You sold her books. You called her ring old junk. And you used me like a credit card with legs." She blinked. "I didn't. You knew," I snapped. "You knew this house was mine. And you said nothing. You let me pay your bills, do your shopping, get shamed at your table. You let me believe I was the guest in my own home." Cassandra's face twisted. The glamorous veneer cracked open like a dropped mirror. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want this kind of drama." "Oh, so it was for my sake," I said dryly. "How generous." She stepped closer. "You're ruining this family." I stood up. "What family?" "You mean the one where I sit quietly while you insult me? The one where I pay for gas, groceries, and you tell people I'm just crashing here? The one where my dad hasn't looked me in the eye in 3 years unless you're out of town?" She was shaking. Not with fear, rage. "Fine," she hissed. "You want to be the boss? Let's see how long you last. You don't know what it's like to carry a household." "Sweetheart," I said, "I've been carrying it for years. You just wore the crown." That afternoon, I emailed her a lease. $2,500 per month, below market rate, but official. Utilities not included. Due on the 1st, late fee after 5 days. No subletting. Month to month. She didn't respond. Dad called that night. "She's upset," he said weakly. "So am I replied. "You want to stay? You pay. Same rules for both of you." She says you blindsided her. I say you both stole from me. There was a long pause. "I don't know if we can afford that." "Then maybe it's time you found a place that fits your budget." He hung up. By day 3, she was spiraling. She started leaving job ads on the printer, ones she'd clearly looked up for me. Internships. Call center openings. Dog walking. For me. As if she thought she could flip the script and make me feel dependent again. I posted a note on the fridge. "I own this house. Your options remain the same. Pay rent or leave. Job advice not required." I already have one. Management. That Friday, she tried charm. "I've been thinking," she said in a silk blouse and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe we could pay something. But $2,500? That's steep. Especially since you don't even have kids." $2,500, I said. "Take it or leave it." "We'd be happy to contribute, of course," she added sweetly. "As long as we all agree you're still part of our family." I took another sip of coffee. "Oh, I'm not part of your family. I'm your landlord. Let's keep it professional." By Sunday, she caved. They signed the lease. I watched her hand tremble as she scribbled her name next to the word tenant. "You've made your point," she muttered. "Not yet," I said. "But we're getting there." It's been almost 2 months since that dinner. The house is quiet now. No stilettos clacking on the hardwood. No self-help podcasts blasting from the living room. No Cassandra reminding me that women who don't exfoliate weekly age twice as fast. She still lives here. But now, she whispers. She signed the lease. And then, plot twist, she got a job. A real one. Not influencer brand partner. Not wellness consultant. Not whatever she used to call scrolling Pinterest and drinking smoothies at 11 a.m. No. Cassandra, my stepmother, now works as a janitor at a department store. Night shift. minimum wage, beige uniform, non-slip shoes. She said it was temporary. Just something to stay afloat, she muttered once, while cleaning the sink she used to call my zone. Apparently, my dad's pension doesn't stretch far when you have to pay real rent. The day she came home with sore feet and bleach on her sleeves, I didn't say anything. I just handed her a glass of water and went back to painting the walls in my mother's old office. That was the first time I ever saw her, small. Not angry. Not smug. Just exposed. And I thought, good. But there was still one thing left. The ring. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not even when Cassandra started packing her own lunches. Not even when she washed her own dishes for the first time since 2013. The ring haunted me. I'd lie awake at night wondering, what if it's already sold? What if someone else is wearing it right now? What if it's gone forever? So I did what I had to. I started searching. The day after Cassandra came home in her beige janitor uniform, I asked her again, "Where did you sell the ring?" She didn't look at me. "What ring?" "You know which one." She sighed, rolled her eyes. "Someplace near the mall." "I don't remember." "You don't remember the name of the shop?" "Why would I?" I was decluttering. It was the most valuable thing in the house. She shrugged. "You're emotionally attached to junk. That's your problem, not mine." I turned and left before I said something I'd regret. I spent the next 2 weeks doing everything she wouldn't. Calling every pawn shop in the county. Driving to strip malls and hole-in-the-wall places. Showing the same photo over and over again. Marquise sapphire. Diamond halo. Platinum band. Small chip on the left side. Most said no. A few said maybe. One guy tried to sell me a fake, vintage-style, ring for $200. Then, finally, a woman behind a dusty counter said, "I think we had that one." Came in from an older woman. Said it was an outdated family piece. But corporate transferred it last week to Eastover. Eastover. 2 hours away. I drove there the next day. Didn't call. Didn't care. Just walked in with the photo and the kind of determination that makes security guards nervous. I showed the picture to the manager. "Please. I'm just asking you to check." She looked at it, tilted her head, then disappeared into the back. 5 minutes passed. 10. And then she came out with a black velvet tray. And there it was. The ring. The sapphire. The setting. The chip. Still mine. Still hers. Still ours. "Just went on display yesterday," the woman said. "You're lucky." I didn't feel lucky. I felt whole. "How much?" She told me. It was more than Cassandra probably got for it. Maybe double. I paid in cash. No questions. No hesitation. I sat in the car afterward, the ring in my palm, and I cried like I hadn't cried in years. Not from pain. From relief. From the sense that for once, she hadn't won. She'd tried to erase my mother. And failed. I didn't tell Cassandra I found it. Not because I was hiding it, but because I didn't owe her that moment. I slipped it onto my finger that night and stared at it in bed like I was afraid it might vanish again. But it didn't. It stayed. Like it always belonged to me. The house feels different now. Not just quieter. But mine. I replaced the curtains. Rehung the photos Cassandra once called depressing. Started using my mom's old dishes. Lit one of her candles, lavender and patchouli. The smell wrapped around me like memory. Cassandra doesn't speak much anymore. She says good morning in a voice like she's afraid to wake the floor. My dad? He pays rent. He doesn't argue. He watches me with a kind of quiet guilt I'm not ready to touch yet. Last week, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From my mom's best friend, who lives states away. She'd heard what happened, probably from Aunt Rachel. Inside, one sentence. "She'd be proud of you, baby. And she'd want you to wear that ring with your head held high." I cried again. But this time, it wasn't grief. It was release. Cassandra thought tradition didn't pay for luxury. But here I am. In my mother's house. Wearing her ring. Sitting in her chair with sunlight on my hand and coffee on the table she picked out. I didn't just get the ring back. I got myself back. And no one's ever taking that away again.